This is Thornmead Castle. It's very old, very traditional, and very British. And without wishing to generalise, people who live in homes like this tend to also be those things. Typically, historic stately homes like this are owned by old-fashioned types who love talking about how much better things were back in the day and hold a healthy suspicion of anything new and flashy, or worse, foreign. I wonder what they'll make of today's car.
What we have here, ladies and gents, is the new Xpeng P7. And I do appreciate we've covered an awful lot of Chinese stuff on the channel recently. That's sort of the way things are going. But this one, you're going to want to pay special attention to. Here's the pitch. Tell me how you feel about this. Tesla Model S rival for Tesla Model 3 money. That is what this car claims to offer. And if true, it is an insane proposal. This to me looks like potentially being the best Chinese car from China's most Euro-friendly car brand. And it's coming to Europe this summer. So, is it worth the hype? How does it stack up to its rivals? And what's with those doors? All will be revealed, because this is the Xpeng P7, and this is the Fully Charged show.
You can see the Fully Charged show in real life at our exhibitions around the world. Fresh from the success of our UK South show, Fully Charged Live finally heads north. Click just here to get your tickets today.
In February of this year, Xpeng announced its foray into Europe. First 4 markets on the table are Denmark, Norway, Sweden and Netherlands, the usual suspects. Those guys will be getting deliveries of this car this summer and then of the G9 later this year. No plans to bring the other 2 models, the G3 or the P5, to Europe just yet. Also, no plans for the UK just yet. Sorry to tell you, that's our fault for being right-hand drive. It's a pain in the arse making cars right-hand drive. So maybe down the line we get Xpeng here in the UK, but for the time being it's not on the agenda, alas. So then, let's have a little nosy round it. And once again, I find myself in the strange position of reviewing a car that our man Elliot Richards covered about 10 years ago, but that's the way of the world. That's how things are going. I have only really seen one of these in the metal once or twice, and it's the first time I've spent a proper bit of time with one. I think it looks fantastic. It's low and wide and mean. It's purposeful and sporty without being too overstated, and it's distinctly Xpeng. It doesn't look like any other brand. It's a head turner, especially here in the UK where most people have never seen one before. Worth noting, there has just been a kind of midlife refresh of the P7. In China, they're calling the refreshed cars the P7i's, and all the cars that come to Europe will be those facelifted versions. However, the facelift doesn't really affect the exterior. What they've focused on is the interior, the self-driving, and some other software bits. More on that later. So this is how it will look if you're buying a P7 in the Netherlands, in Denmark. It's a handsome looking thing. Around the side, you start to get an idea of what I meant when I said Model S rival for Model 3 money. This is quite a big car, just shy of 4.9 meters, which means that while it's priced in line with an entry-level Polestar 2 or Tesla Model 3, it's about as big as a Polestar 3 or Tesla Model S. Big old car. Does that equate to additional legroom in the back? We'll find out in a moment. You can rest assured this car does sit on bespoke EV architecture. The Chinese don't mess around with that kind of thing. Fun fact about the platform that this car sits on. Platforms tend to have quite boring code names. EGMP, SEA. This one's called Edward. The other platform that Xpeng use for their smaller models, that's David. Just built a car on David. Hope he's all right. Should we talk about the doors? Let's talk about the doors. 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 Thank you, Louis. That was good. Seamless. Seamless with the button press there. This is novel. I do get a kick out of this. I won't lie to you. However, a couple of things. Number one, imagine showing up to your nan's funeral. God, it's just so sad that Grandma's gone. She was so lovely to us. Remember the cookies she used to make? It's just not very grown up, is it? That's the thing about those. It's not very grown up. Also, they are flawed because they're electric, and if you stand in the way, then they just won't open. And then what do? You kind of feel weird manhandling it. It doesn't feel like it wants to be manhandled. So you've got to reach in here and find the button, and it's way down there somewhere. Bit of a faff. right? A bit too automated, and that is going to be a bit of a theme with this car. The thing about Chinese buyers is they love everything to be automated. They love as many gadgets and gizmos as possible. That's really trendy in China, not so much here in Europe. The charge port, I can't just press to open. It's on that side. You can only open the charge port using the blooming key fob or through the touchscreen in the car. And the boot, if we've got automatic doors, surely we've got an automatic boot lid. But A, no, you have to open and close it yourself like a mug. And B, unless I'm totally dense, and Xpeng, please email me if I am, there's no button for it. There's no button for it. Again, you've got to go on the key fob, which Louis is now going to do for me. Thank you. And then it opens a little bit, and then you've got to open it yourself with your hand. And it's actually really heavy. It's quite a hefty thing to open and close. Decent size, mind you, 440 litres, a little bit bigger than the one on a Polestar 2, nowhere near as big as the gigantic hatch on a Model 3. Out on the road in the Xpeng P7, a lot of the time, this is where it all starts to fall apart for Chinese cars. They're very good at software, they're very good at looking nice inside, but as far as chassis balance and suspension, that's difficult stuff that you kind of need decades of practice to get really good at, and that is often one area where the legacy car brands have the new boys licked. Not this time. You see, the chassis on this P7 was developed with the help of Porsche. And I don't know how involved they actually were. Maybe a German man sneezed on it once and Xpeng just got carried away with the marketing. But I tell you what, it feels like Porsche were involved. This thing handles, it's very, very impressive on this lovely twisty road. It's that difficult balancing act of feeling taut and sporty and really controlled through corners without being too firmly sprung, too uncomfortable. And in addition to that, this dual motor performance version is, well, ample quick. It's not the Tesla gut punch, it's more like the Polestar. They've mapped the throttle in such a way that it doesn't have that explosive violence when you first bury it, but it moves. She goes. In short, performance, handling, comfort, exceeding expectations. Very, very impressive from a car brand that essentially didn't exist 4 years ago. And when you slow down and drive it like a normal person, I could just see this thing being really pleasant to live with day to day. You might be looking across this buttonless dash and thinking, okay, surely there's some sort of irritation going on there. I'll give you a perfect example. There's no switch to change between eco mode, comfort mode, sport mode, right? Where is it? How do you do it? Have you got to dive into the settings and press a lot of things? Yes. Or you can use the best voice command system I have ever experienced in a car. But hands down the best. Watch this.
Hi there.
Engage eco mode.
Eco mode is activated. Hi there.
Open my window.
Okay. Opening driver's side window.
Engage sport mode.
Sport mode is activated.
This is so fast! I didn't think that was going to work on this sort of mongrel car that is Chinese but registered in the Netherlands and current in the UK. But it works perfectly. It's unbelievably good. And when you have software of that quality, you can bury everything in the touchscreen because you're not going to need it that much. You don't need to touch stuff hardly at all. Just talk to the car. Every version of the P7 that comes to Europe is going to have an 82.7 kilowatt hour usable battery. That's a big old battery. The cheapest version of the car, the long range single motor, is the rangiest. That'll do 358 miles of WLTP range. 358. Our mates at EV Database reckon that's a real world range clear of 320 miles in mild weather. Proper range monster. That's the entry level version. That'll set you back €50,000 in the Netherlands, which is about £43,500 here in the UK. Now, I don't know the exact price of a Model 3 or a Polestar in the Netherlands, but I can tell you that here, that places this almost exactly in the middle of the price of an entry-level short range Polestar 2 and an entry level standard range Tesla Model 3. And it's got way more range than both of those cars. It's got more range than a long range Polestar 2. It's only just a little bit shy of a long range Model 3, which is sort of the undisputed value for money range king. Incidentally, if indeed it is capable of 320, 330 miles real world range from its 82 kilowatt hour battery, that's about 4 miles to the kilowatt hour. Efficiency, baby. Chuck another 10 grand at Xpeng, that's when you're into the performance version, same battery, extra motor in the front for 348 kilowatts of power, 0 to 60 in less than 4.5 seconds. Fast car, fast car. And then another 10 grand, 70,000 euro, that gets you what we've got here, the Wing Edition, with basically all the gadgets and gizmos that Xpeng can think of thrown at it, the fancy sound system and the posh Napa leather and, well, the wing doors. Don't buy this version, by the way. This is totally unnecessary. Really cool. Photographs very well. I would suggest that the single motor long range is probably the best of the bunch. The performance, if you're feeling a little bit racy, also just about makes sense. This one makes no sense at all. So then, oh, sorry, hang on. Ow. So then, interior of the Xpeng P7. So many more things happened than I was expecting just then. What have we got? Well, let's just keep in mind that this car has just been facelifted. This interior is going to look a little bit different in the cars that arrive in Europe. This is pre-facelift, it's a bit swankier. There's like a dual inductive phone charging pad here in the new one like you would get in a Model 3, and it's just a little bit cleaner. So we'll try not to get too hung up on the aesthetics, which I think look okay in here. I really like the driving position. Arse to the floor, really adjustable. You can get super comfortable. The wheel comes out a long way. I'm really happy with that driving position. Love this thin rimmed steering wheel. It just feels quite racy in here, being hugged by these bucket seats. Like the Model 3 and the Polestar, it really is just a screen, absolutely no buttons anywhere, but it doesn't feel barren. It doesn't feel like there should be buttons there. I've got nice, big, easy to press ones on the steering wheel. Really nice infotainment system. This is a 15-inch touchscreen. You get this on all versions, and it's just so crisp and responsive, really easy to use. Climate control, yes, is buried inside the system, but it's not too bad. Like, it's one press there, and then you can just change your temperature like that. That's pretty straightforward. I don't mind that too much. Driving modes, it's intuitive. It's all where you think it's going to be. Quick controls here. I can choose my modes. I can fiddle with the ambient lighting settings. There's not actually too much to tinker with. I'll just talk about this readout in front of me very quickly because I like this a lot. Especially, I enjoy this section here, which is dedicated to efficiency. That's always there. So at any given moment, I can see my consumption right there. It actually graphs it while you're driving, which is really cool and sort of makes you want to play the game of efficiency even more. And likewise, this bar over here will go up when I'm accelerating and down when I'm regenerating. Very standard practice. But it will also tell me in kilowatts exactly how much power I am using or recuperating. I think that's really cool. And the craziest thing by far about the P7 is just how much of this kit comes as standard. And here's a list of things that every single P7, including the entry-level car, which again costs as much as a standard range Model 3 or a short range Polestar 2, comes with. The 15-inch center screen, heated front and rear seats, inductive charging pads, adaptive cruise control, self-parking, the insane 360 camera setup, about a zillion different safety features, all as standard. There's really very few boxes that you can tick when speccing your P7. It's just, do you want the extra motor? Do you want the silly doors? All the bells and whistles, they come with. Big boy legroom. This seat is back where I would want it, and I am very content back here. Even got good amount of headroom in spite of A, a fairly swoopy roofline, and B, a panoramic sunroof. Substantially more legroom than the back of the Polestar 2, significantly more headroom than both the Polestar and the Tesla. Very impressed. I am pretty blown away by the quality of this thing. It just feels like such a polished product from a brand that basically didn't exist 4 years ago. I'm not just sat in here thinking, wow, that is a very valid competitor for the Model 3 and the Polestar 2 and the i4. No, what I'm thinking right now is, blimey, will I spend twice as much on an e-tron GT or a Taycan? Twice as much? Are they twice the car? I can't wait for this thing to touch down in Europe. I cannot wait for first customer deliveries of this car, because it is going to scare the hell out of the legacy car makers that are taking their sweet time. It's going to scare the hell out of them, because this is the car that we should have seen by now from BMW, from Audi. A bespoke EV on a proper EV platform with huge range and amazing tech. Not some relic from yesteryear that's had some batteries pushed up its bum. This is the real deal. Oh, this car's gonna make some waves. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready to be this impressed. I wasn't ready for such a polished product, so talented in so many ways. Good car, good car. Xpeng, I want one of these. Could you do a few right-hand drive ones? Would you mind? Very, very impressed with this thing, in case that wasn't clear. And in terms of broader significance, well, we already know that Chinese car brands are really good at making small, affordable electric stuff. They've proven that over the last 12 months. But this is the Chinese car industry going toe-to-toe with your BMWs, your Audis, your Polestars, your Teslas, and going, hey, you know that thing that you're best at? Well, we might be better at it. So, there we go, Xpeng P7. If any legacy car brand CEOs are watching this, sleep well. And to the rest of you, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have been, thanks for watching.